So welcome everybody. This is the 15th annual senior seminar poster session. As most of you know, this is a class that's being taught here at Barnard, but together with Columbia, we have 4 programs and departments that are listed on the lower left that are in this class. I'm just the lead instructor. My name is Martin Stute, and I've been doing this since 95 or 96 or something like that for a long, long time. But it's always the highlight of my semester, to listen to our fantastic students. We have 52 today that are going to present their work. And the way how we are going to do this is basically have the students give a 30-second overview of their work, and then they will be by their posters, and you can engage them in a discussion. But before we start with the 30-second slides, I just wanted to express my thanks to these people. The pictures we are showing here, the first 2 rows are actually the 8 instructors in this senior seminar, so we have all 4 departments and programs represented among those. And it's a lot of work for all of us being involved in this class. So I really need 8 people to do this. And then below we have some of our support staff listed. And then of course we have the generous support from the Barnard Provost, Linda Bell, and also from the Earth Institute, from Steve Cohen, who sponsors this session and pays for the food, which we really would like to thank him very much for. Now, the thank you would not be complete if I wouldn't say something about all the research mentors. So these are the people that our students work with on their research. They are the experts in that field that they pursue. It's not the 8 faculty members that I'm listing here. We know a little bit about things, but not the specifics about the topic. So it's those research mentors that really we have to thank the most. So what we like to do next is we go through the list of poster presenters. It's the program that is in front of your chair. And we are going that order through, and every student will have 30 seconds to describe her or his work. We would like to ask you to hold the applause until the very end, otherwise this will take a long time, I can tell you. So please hold it. We'll go one person after the next. The students will come out to the stage, will give their 30-second spiel, and then you will walk off on the other side. As somebody said earlier, it's a good practice for graduation, in a few weeks. So you know how that is going to work. And then we have a big applause at the very end, and then we're going to move the chairs out of the way, and we put the posters where there's light in this room. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hi. I'm Kai Morsink, and I reconstructed sea level from a warm period 83,000 years ago using this beautifully preserved fossilized coral reef on the island of Barbados. I measured the elevations of a couple hundred corals in this reef belonging to 3 different coral species. Those are the 3 different colors. Then I used modern observations of the depths of those species to figure out where sea level was when the reef was alive. That's most likely 19 meters below today.
Hi everyone, my name is Eileen Valdivia Mccarthy, and I was working on building a carbon dioxide reconstruction from 23 million years ago using fossil leaves. So what we know about this time period was that glaciers were melting and temperatures were significantly hotter than they are today, and we would expect that carbon dioxide would also be higher, but the few previous estimates that they are show significantly lower carbon dioxide than we would think. So for my project, I've been working on building a carbon dioxide estimate to determine what was going on during this time period of intense climate change.
Hello everyone, my name is Nina Castro, and for my project I looked at 20 million year old stromatolites and oncolite fossils to characterize the paleo environment of Lake Manuherikia in the South Island of New Zealand. Stromatolites and oncolites are formed by the trapping and binding of sediments by cyanobacteria in freshwater or marine environments. My results indicate a semi-tropical climate, fluctuating water levels with seasons, and the presence of a rare freshwater sponge.
Hello everyone, my name is Raya Inman, and my thesis is an investigation into the conditions of formation and the resulting stability of lava domes, a specific feature of many volcanoes worldwide. As an analog, I have conducted laboratory experiments, and as a comparison to a natural lava dome example, I use Sinabung volcano in Sumatra, Indonesia as a case study. Thank you.
I'm Simon Wan. To have continentally derived quartzite on an otherwise volcanic island is strange and mysterious. The island of Anjouan, located off the northern coast of Madagascar and eastern coast of Africa, is such a case. I've investigated how these quartzite could have appeared on the island by using magnetic anomalies, petrographic textures, and other methods, and determined that there is very likely a continental fragment in the basin of western Somalia.
Hello, everyone. My name is Blanca Alvarez. So coral reefs worldwide have seen shifts from coral-dominated to macroalgal-dominated states, which do not provide the same ecosystem services as coral-dominated states. Herbivory is a critical process mediating between these two states. This study took place in Moorea, French Polynesia, and looks at how disturbances, specifically overfishing and sedimentation, affects herbivory on coral reefs. We modeled the sequential degradation of the herbivore guild, as well as 2 levels of sedimentation regimes. We found that that sedimentation and herbivory leads to decreased herbivory on reefs, and that sea urchins remove sediment, possibly facilitating fish herbivory.
Hi, my name is Jason Agani. I researched the home ranges and movement patterns of wood turtles in Connecticut. While the results of home range studies can help better inform management decisions, there is no existing consensus on the amount of tracking data that should be collected. Therefore, I also created an improved methodology for better designing future home range studies and found that at least 40 location points collected over 2.5 years are needed to sufficiently track a wood turtle. My research will help wildlife managers better protect wood turtles and ensure that home range studies in the future are conducted more accurately and efficiently. Thank you.
My name is Joseph Nee. Accurate surveying is an essential tool for wildlife conservation, but some species like the black howler monkey are especially difficult to survey because of their arboreal and sedentary lifestyles. However, they are well known for their loud vocalizations. So I studied their vocalizations using a passive acoustic monitoring system and determined that certain characteristics, such as the maximum frequency of the howls, can be used to identify individual males in 5 different troops. Thank you.
My name is Irina Matescu, and my research focuses on vocal activity in the Arctic boreal region. The Arctic has seen a high increase in temperature over the last decade that has translated into a large decrease in sea ice extent. Looking at vocal activity can help us understand what's happening at the ecosystem level and how exactly bird populations are impacted by climate change. I've looked at recordings from Nuiqsut, Alaska, and I processed them using machine learning models. The results can be correlated with abiotic variation so as to understand future trends.
Hi everyone, I'm Caroline Freinberg. Dairy cows may develop injuries or abnormal behaviors due to contact with the stalls that they're housed in. To measure how confinement is related to overall cow comfort and welfare, I worked on validating contact mats, which are pressure sensors that can count cows' interactions with the stall rails, using automated recording instead of in-person and time-intensive monitoring. To measure the contact, I made manual observations of cow movement and compared them to the data collected by the mats. I found that while the mats had a lower sensitivity than expected, they could accurately rank cows based on their frequency of contact.
Hi, my name is Maria Miriam, and I studied how dairy farmers manage their pastures and how these management strategies affect the forage or feed quality in those pastures, as well as the mycorrhizal abundance, which is the amount of fungi in a symbiotic relationship with the plants in those pastures. And these are important questions to consider as we think about ways to support struggling dairy farmers in the face of climate change, since it turns out that mycorrhizal abundance correlates with decreased forage quality, but also increased soil quality. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Elle. Enteric fermentation in the gastrointestinal tract of ruminants is a leading anthropogenic source of methane, a greenhouse gas that has a global warming potential 85 times stronger than that of carbon dioxide. Microorganisms in the rumen break down fibrous plant material and produce methane as a byproduct, which is then exhaled by cows. Various strategies have been studied to mitigate enteric methane emissions from cattle, including dietary treatments. Here, we used a suite of empirical models to investigate the potential reduction in emissions under amended diets in which all crop residues, a low-quality feed used frequently in East Africa, are treated with urea. This treatment decreased net greenhouse gas emissions from dairy cattle and represents an accessible strategy for increasing milk production in East Africa.
Hi, my name is Ellery Vaughn, and for my research, I conducted a dietary analysis of the coyote population of Black Rock Forest, which is an hour north of New York City. Coyotes are a recently established top predator in the Northeast, and their impacts in many forest ecosystems has not been studied yet. I describe their diet to determine which prey species they are consuming, with particular emphasis on how much their diet consists of white-tailed deer. Contrary to the expectations that they would consume the most deer in the spring during peak deer fawning season, I observed the highest proportion of white-tailed deer remains in the coyote scats collected in the winter. In addition to white-tailed deer, I identified 10 other prey species. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Connor. In the Northeast, Arctic ecosystems exist only at the tops of mountains as remnants from the last glacial advance and retreat, called islands in the sky. To investigate whether the abundance of these Arctic plant species varies with soil depth, I hiked over 300 miles to plots on 6 summits in the Adirondacks to estimate abundance and take soil depth measurements. My analysis found that the average soil depth of alpine assemblages was significantly shallower than Crummold's tree communities. Also, some species, like Diapensia laponica, have a significant relationship to soil depth or Crummold's abundance. A better understanding of the relationship between soil depth and species abundance can contribute to more accurate population modeling and establish conservation priorities in our changing climate.
Hello, my name is Meredith Johnston, and I performed genotyping on a threatened population of steelhead trout in Scott Creek, a previously degraded creek in central coastal California. The aim of the study was to reconstruct the returning adult population structure in the past 8 years to understand potential differences in sex ratios, age structures, and the effect of the hatchery on the natural population. These findings create a baseline for a hatchery and genetic management plan in steelhead trout.
Hi everyone, I'm Adriana Fratz. Due to the difficulty in measuring the ecological conditions required by a virus, many studies make the assumption that viral range is completely congruent to host species range. I tested this assumption using rabies presence data in bat species in Canada, which included over 26,000 samples collected over a span of 18 years, and found that rabies is not present everywhere within its host species ranges. In fact, rabies prevalence varies within the species and shows strong seasonal trends, which has implications for Canadian public health policy as well as predictive disease modeling.
Hi, my name is Jack Warren, and I research the phylogeny and future distributions of the kingbird of paradise, a bird endemic to Papua New Guinea. First, I sequenced mitochondrial genes in order to better understand the speciation. What I found is that the kingbird of paradise can be divided into 2 geographically distinct subspecies, one in the north and one in the south, both pictured here. However, when looking at modeling future distributions, I found there was insufficient presence data in certain remote areas in order to significantly model at the species and subspecies levels.
Hi, I'm Abigail Andrews, and most cities measure air pollution at airports, and this measurement's highly precise. However, recent research has shown that air pollution can change even on a block-by-block basis. My thesis seeks to create a new method to measure air pollution precisely at a more local scale. I explored this through modifying Google Street View cars seen here with gaseous and aerosol air pollution monitors, which mapped air pollution every 1 second on the streets of Austin, Texas. This produced a data set with a 30-meter spatial scale of air pollution, which can be used to create and plan more equitable and healthier cities.
Hi, I'm Luei Zhang. So environmental risk factors, especially air pollution, are becoming increasingly a threat to public health. And similar to Abigail, my study focuses on air pollution in cities. So in the thesis, I used New York City air pollution data collected on mobile devices by cyclists, and along with temporal meteorological and urban geographical data to predict local street-level air pollution levels.
Hi, my name is Annie Block. New York City is very vulnerable to coastal and inland flooding due to large volumes of stormwater runoff. Many forms of green infrastructure, in particular bioswales, are being implemented throughout New York to help cope with these challenges. Past studies have shown great variability within the effectiveness of bioswales. After measuring infiltration rates of 4 bioswales in Brooklyn, New York, my results showed that maintenance and upkeep of the systems did indeed have a great impact on the effectiveness of bioswales. In particular, those maintained by New York City Parks and Rec were the most effective. Operation and management of bioswales is going to be imperative as climate change intensifies and stormwater runoff becomes more acute. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Natalia Figueredo, and today I'll be talking about the impact of particle association on the dynamics of potentially pathogenic bacteria found in the Hudson River estuary. The attachment of bacteria to particles has been shown beneficial for bacteria because of certain benefits such as shading from sunlight and increase in nutrients. I specifically focused on the genus Vibrio, which contains a pathogenic species, one you might all know as cholera. And my study demonstrated that particle association is important because it benefited Vibrio at higher temperatures. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Shelly Lim. I studied microplastics, which are small plastic particles that often escape wastewater filtration and also can harm marine organisms from fish to zooplankton. I collected water samples across New York City waterways, counted the microplastics, and then did a feeding experiment on the phytoplankton Noctiluca scintillans. And they ingested microplastics, but there wasn't any impact on their health. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Guillermo, and for my thesis, I used perfluorocarbon tracer compounds and sulfur hexafluoride to analyze air movement in buildings. The air in buildings may contain indoor air pollutants that are detrimental to one's health. So one way to locate these sources of contaminants is to use these tracers. So for my thesis, I conducted 2 air exchange experiments in 2 buildings, and after collecting samples from these 2 buildings, it is proven that these tracers have been very effective in locating these sources. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Avery Kale, and my thesis tests the viability of perfluorocarbons and SF6 as tracers for contaminants in groundwater at hydraulic fracturing sites. In my experiment, I pumped a mixture of groundwater, fracking fluids, perfluorocarbons, and SF6 through a sample of aquifer rock. I found, after comparing the transport rates of these components as they traveled through the rock column, that perfluorocarbons are not viable tracers due to their immobility in the liquid phase. However, I did find that SF6 moves at comparable rates to the contaminants found in fracking fluids, suggesting that SF6 does serve as a viable tracer.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Gabriella Smith, and I studied 2 tracer gases, SF6 and SF5CF3, which are used to monitor the dynamics of environmental systems. In 2014, both of these tracers were injected into a geothermal reservoir. One of the injection sites is pictured here. Unexpectedly, SF5CF3 was not detected after injection. I performed a series of degradation experiments that tested the stability of both of these tracers under conditions that mimicked the geothermal reservoir. I found that elevated temperature facilitated the degradation of both tracer gases, suggesting that recommendations be made to limit their use in high temperature systems. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Celeste Pallone. My thesis focuses on sedimentary environments in the eastern Long Island Sound. I participated in 2 cruises to collect sediment samples in the summer of 2018. Over the last year, I've evaluated the sources of carbon and determined the distribution of sediment grain size in my study area as part of a larger effort to comprehensively map the seafloor environments in the Long Island Sound. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stefan Khalid, and for my senior thesis, I measured heavy metal concentrations in surface sediments from eastern Long Island Sound and analyzed their spatial distribution patterns. Long Island Sound is a region that has a long-standing history of metal pollution, mainly due to chemicals and weapons manufacturing along the coasts of Connecticut in the 19th and 20th centuries. My results found higher metal concentrations in finer sediment particles, as well as certain hotspots that are vital for effective coastal management. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ella Steiger, and I studied the influence of fast versus slow sinking particle compositions on nutrient cycling in the northern Gulf of Mexico. In the ocean, the ratio of nitrogen to phosphorus has a tremendous impact on both marine food webs and oceanic plant growth. Despite its importance, prior observations have found this ratio to inexplicably decline as surface water moves offshore. Using experiments I conducted on a 3-week oceanic expedition in the northern Gulf of Mexico, I was able to focus in on some of the processes that underlie this peculiar ratio change.
Hello, my name is Madeline Killo, and my project aimed to determine the source and origin of organic carbon driving arsenic release into aquifers previously considered safe. We identified 2 possible sources of organic carbon, either through a clay layer 10 meters above our sampling site or from the Holocene aquifer above. And RNA extraction and radiocarbon analyses revealed a presence of young organic carbon at these deep well depths, suggesting that there is a transport of this carbon from the surface or Holocene aquifer.
Each of those red dots is a place where Americans have recently been exposed to lead in their drinking water. This is thousands of cities across the country and millions of people. The problem is, none of these cities really know where their lead pipes are, and each of these cities could have a crisis like the one we saw in Flint, Michigan. So my research looks at creating a statistical prediction model to tell us where the lead pipes are in these cities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gemma Sawell, and for my thesis, I analyzed gamma radiation taken from land surveys in the northern atolls of the Marshall Islands, where the United States detonated 67 nuclear weapon tests during the Cold War. My focus is on how combined effects of radiation and sea level rise threaten the habitability of the Marshall Islands. I do this by taking a closer look at the gamma-emitting radioisotope cesium-137 and how it behaves in the local environment there.
Hi, my name is Amelia. I took this photo in the Republic of the Marshall Islands, like Gemma said, where the United States did extensive nuclear weapons testing and where Gemma and I both conducted fieldwork to determine how much lingering ionizing radiation there is still there. Generally speaking, the answer is not a lot. The populations are exposed to just chronically very low doses, and the medical impact of this is assumed to be negligible based on the existing model. However, this model is not empirically supported, and my thesis research finds that it's actually not correct. In fact, immune cells are hypersensitive to very low doses of ionizing radiation, and this needs to be taken into account in assessing risk in nuclear medicine and testing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Shin, and for my project, I expanded ship flow diagrams, or SFDs, to include the compositional parameters of volatile solid reduction and methane production. By evaluating these expanded SFDs and completing a cost analysis, I found that small anaerobic digesters after collection were more efficient, while large anaerobic digesters at the end of the sanitation chain were more cost-effective. These expanded SFDs can become a powerful engineering tool to help improve global wastewater management. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kiran Singh Smith, and my study assessed the recovery of 26 bodies of water in the Hudson Highlands from acid rain since 1985. My research overall found that a greater proportion of these historically acidified lakes are now considered satisfactory for aquatic life and less vulnerable to acid deposition. However, the rate and extent of this recovery depends on each lake's underlying geology and surrounding environment. My results help quantify the success and importance of the Clean Air Act in this region and can be applied to similarly acidified areas. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary Bannister. Food justice considers the fact that structures of inequality are embedded within modern food systems so that only some people can afford to be healthy. Using engaged social research methods, I found that the 4th Ward of Paterson, New Jersey, a socioeconomically disadvantaged community, lacks affordable food options that are healthy and sustainable. I identified explanations and solutions to increase justice in food access. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mireya Estrada. Smallholder farmers are an important part of developing countries as they provide food security for poor and rural populations. Climate change is expected to decrease their ability to provide food security as they have low adaptation measures. Smallholder farmers have mentioned that there have been delays in the start of the rainy season and that pest diseases and droughts have become more common recently. These experiences of these smallholder farmers can be attributed to climate change as there have been increasing trends in precipitation and temperature, and the start of the rainy season has become less defined.
Hello, my name is Diana, and expanding on research done over last summer, my thesis investigated whether input subsidies, that is fertilizer and improved seeds offered at reduced prices, are enough for smallholder farmers, the poorest farmers cultivating on less than 2 hectares of land in eastern Rwanda. Through semi-structured interviews, farmers were asked to identify their biggest external challenges and how they affected how they used input subsidies and their crop productivity overall. Results show that a lack of markets for their produce and limited access to loans limited limited farmers' usage of inputs and their crop productivity overall. This stresses that a more integrated approach in which input subsidies are combined with other services is a more needed, effective means to maximize outcomes. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Ambria Benesh, and my thesis compared two socially marginalized and environmentally toxic communities in Chicago and Brooklyn to understand why strong environmental advocacy does not lead to strong political action. Data revealed a general lack of critical understanding of environmental issues, a critical lack of understanding about and faith in politics, and polarization within activist communities. Above all, people feel that there is no way to exercise individual power in these spaces, and therefore there is no point in trying. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elsa Vajra. A single photograph can become an icon representative of an idea. Take the case of the polar bear and climate change. My thesis aimed to understand if photographs could play a similar role for theories that seek to create legal rights for non-human animals in nature. I conducted expert interviews and a digital survey to assess the opinions of current law students and lawyers with regard to 3 specific theories. I found that photographs meant to evoke negative emotions elicited the most positive responses from survey participants. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Crystal Estrella. When assessing vulnerable communities, research must go beyond the idea that environmental health is solely measured by the outdoor natural ecosystem and explore the relationship between quality of life and the built indoor environment. Using temperature monitors and intra-household surveys, I examined the relationship between cold indoor air temperature, race, class, and health among renter-occupied units to highlight the dimensions of physical energy insecurity, an environmental injustice issue that merits more attention in research and policy. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marion Gibson. So natural disasters such as Hurricane Harvey have the potential to intensify social inequities. My research finds statistical evidence that immigrants from Mexico and Central America were disproportionately impacted by the storm. Meanwhile, various legal, political, and social barriers prevent immigrant communities from accessing recovery resources. This is a crucial environmental justice issue that must be addressed by government programs.
Good afternoon. My name is Loven Jade, and I'm from Gonaive, Haiti. I did my research on remittance and flows to Haiti. And remittance is any money that immigrants and migrant workers send to their home countries. So I used that and compared that to other funding sources of the country. I used proxy institutions such as ROSCA, Fonds and Unit Bank to compare those. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maggie. Large-scale urban farms have been constructed on 6 public housing properties in New York in order to activate the plain and under-maintained green spaces that dominate these landscapes, which are also believed to contribute to the higher rates of crime observed in these areas. My research explores the relationship between these farms, crime, and resident perceptions of safety on their housing development. Across all surveyed developments, residents reported that the farms made them feel safer, and in one case, the farm contributed to a reduction in minor crime. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Jean Michelle. As more intermittent renewable energy sources such as solar and wind are introduced into the energy mix, the need for large-scale long-term capacity storage is essential. Power to gas is a rising technology that allows for this as well as the recycling of CO2. However, it is yet to be implemented in New York State. Thus, my thesis focuses on the feasibility of this technology from a technical, economic, and policy-based standpoint. Results show that although it is favorable from a technical and policy view, the economics point to high costs as the largest barrier to implementation.
Good evening. My name is Hannah Friedman. Carbon pricing is one economic mechanism available to internalize the social cost of greenhouse gases and thus our climate impact. This research analyzed the potential for an internal carbon pricing plan at Columbia University by assessing potential challenges to implementation and possible mechanisms for adoption. The results found that while there's little data to support a carbon charge that acts as a price signal, there are other carbon pricing mechanisms available to the university to help reach its climate action goals.
Hi, I'm William Zhuang. Biopiracy and bioprospecting are interchangeable terms used to describe the acquisition of biological or genetic information from one country to be developed in another. International regulation has been put into place by the UN to restrict these practices. However, technological developments threaten to allow for easy circumvention of these policies. This study surveyed 329 professionals in fields related to bioprospecting. It found that existing regulations were overwhelmingly considered important to maintain, and the majority believed that they also needed to be updated to accommodate technological developments.
Hi, my name is Brenda Meza. Past studies have looked at Puerto Rico's distribution of damage after waterborne disasters, but failed to look at the way it affects communities. Using satellite imagery and census data, I assessed the island's vulnerability to future flooding while taking account its demographics. The assessment found there to be an overlap between the areas more at risk and the regions that lack most in resources. Thus, recommendations include forest rehabilitation, adaptive reconstruction of tourist beaches, and government-subsidized insurance. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Elise Scout, and I conducted qualitative research in the Rockaways of New York City. I wanted to understand how the elderly were thinking about the risk to a future flood event. As we saw in Hurricane Sandy, the older population is disproportionately vulnerable for reasons related to their health and their mobility. In general, those I spoke with felt either an unwillingness or an inability to evacuate and felt utterly unprepared. Overall, their lack of awareness for online disaster resources suggests that New York City should increase its in-person outreach and work with local community leaders to better protect and inform this population. Thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Jacob Silverstein, and for my senior thesis, I was studying the impact of LEED building certification on student productivity and well-being. Within the green building industry, there's a lot of debate around the efficacy of green building certifications. So I set out to determine just how effective or ineffective the LEED building certification really was. This was accomplished by distributing a survey to Barnard undergrads in regard to the 2 LEED design buildings right here on Barnard's campus. The results from the survey data does indicate not just a good, but a positive improvement in student productivity, well-being, and the LEED building certification. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Melody Tai, and my project begins with the fashion sector, which is one of the most polluting sectors in the world. I used multiple methods to look at how brand sustainability messages were perceived by an increasingly socially conscious and economically significant Generation X and Y consumers. I found a general lack of accountability in this messaging and consumer preference for overt sustainability, suggesting increased brand transparency would help sustainability and luxury become truly compatible both inward and in practice. Thank you.
And my name is Alexander Losnak, and I studied climate change policy and the 2018 US elections. Specifically, I analyzed the positions on climate change that candidates for Congress took in the election and compared those positions with election outcomes. In order to do that, I developed a comprehensive index to score the strength of candidates' positions. My biggest finding was a qualitative trend where in which candidates who take stronger positions on climate change win at higher rates than those who do not. Thank you.
Okay, it's time for a big round of applause.